Hello guys, and welcome to this second video of a new series I've started a few months ago. In case you haven't been able to experience an approach to Zweisimmen, I would recommend you to go and check this one out first. I've been receiving some feedback from you guys last time, and I've tried to do certain adjustments and improvements for this video, so I hope that it will be up to your expectations. Again, if you have some more feedback, just comment in the section down below. It is a wonderful hot summer day in Switzerland, and we have just overflown the Grimsel Pass. We took off at around 8:30 in the morning from our home base in order to profit from some cooler air when flying into Münster, which is located in the middle of the Swiss Alps. The reason why flying in the morning is so important, especially during summertime and in the Alps, are multiple. Following are a few points. First, our airplane's performance, in our case a Cessna 172, is strongly dependent of the air's density and temperature. Commonly, the less dense the air is, the less efficient our engine is. The air becomes less dense with either increasing altitude or increasing temperature. In our case, as we were going to fly into a mountainous region during a hot summer day, we made the decision of departing earlier in the morning in order to be able to fly at lower temperatures, which would give us better performance. The second most important reason of flying early in the morning is that we have greater chances of avoiding convective weather. Convective weather describes all weather phenomena which are associated to heating of the ground, which allows thunderstorms to build. Thunderstorms belong to the most hazardous encounters a pilot could make while flying, as these bring along heavy turbulence, showers, wind shears, as well as hail, low visibility and lightnings. Thus, flying early in the morning will usually allow the pilot to avoid this type of weather. So let's take a look at the charts and start our approach briefing. Münster is located in the far eastern part of the canton of Vailais, surrounded by high peaks in a narrow, long valley. At an elevation of a bit more than 4,300 feet, it is another challenging airport to be flying into, especially during hot summer days when the aircraft's performance isn't the best. We will approach Münster from the northeast. As a common rule, we will be flying on the right side of the valley to avoid potential opposite traffic. Having gone through a weather briefing prior to departure, we were expecting an approach to runway 05. Winds were forecasted to be calm, so why did we still decide to do an arrival into runway 05 instead of choosing runway 23, which would allow us to do a straight-in approach? Let's take a look at the runway slope to better understand why. The runway is 815 meters long, and choosing to land on runway 05 gives us an increase in available landing length of 15 meters, which is of advantage. But the main factor here that determines why we wanted to avoid a landing on runway 23 was the down or upslope, depending on which runway you look at. As a general rule, it is always favorable to land in an upslope, and again, there are various reasons why. First, an upsloping runway will allow you to touch down early on the runway, which gives you in the end a greater distance to bring the aircraft to a stop. Second, due to the upslope itself, our airplane comes to a stop much faster than in a downslope for obvious reasons. So given that the wind was calm, it was clear that the preferred runway would be runway 05. The runway surface, consisting of asphalt and for this day being dry additionally, would guarantee a short braking distance, which would give us more tolerance in case of a long landing. But landing on runway 05 was associated with certain risks, the main one being the go-around procedure. As mentioned earlier, we're flying in a narrow valley which gains in height towards the east, surrounded by high mountains. Flying on a hot summer day at high altitudes reduces our aircraft's performance, which means that we have to expect shallower rates of climbs as well as lower bank angles when turning. Looking back at the chart, we can see that in case of a go-around, we would head straight towards the northeast and after roughly 1 nautical mile make a U-turn to join back into the circuit at 5,600 feet. Having done some calculations prior to our flight, we knew that it would be difficult to stick to the route mapped, so we agreed that in case of a go-around, we would keep on climbing straight and remain to the right of the valley. We would keep on climbing until we would have reached an altitude which would allow us to make a 180-degree turn safely having enough vertical and horizontal clearance to the terrain below and around us. We would then join back into the right-hand circuit for runway 05 at 5,600 feet. Should we be unable to land a second time, we would then divert to our alternate airport, which is around 20 minutes away from Münster to the southwest. We are currently descending to the circuit altitude of 5,600 feet. The runway you see to our left is not Münster. In fact, it used to be a military airfield which has been closed since 1999. Marked with white crosses along the runway tell us that this runway is closed and unserviceable. You will also notice that there are many side valleys along our route on the right side. It is important to know how these may influence our flight. Side valleys usually have their own wind patterns. When the winds of the main valley flow together with the ones of the side valleys, light to strong turbulence can result. So it is important to assess the currents in the mountains prior to departure to have an idea of what may await us. As we were flying in the morning, currents weren't too strong yet, and we were expecting rather smooth flying conditions. Nevertheless, we kept enough distance to the terrain on the right. Finally, we are approaching Münster. We are now at 5,600 feet and have gone through our approach check, which ensures that the aircraft is properly prepared for arrival and the autopilot is turned off. Meanwhile, we have been contacted by a helicopter on the airport's frequency, which is coming from the opposite side. The pilot is flying along the southern side of the valley, so we do not have any risks of colliding. We were then advised that it was going to pick up freight from Münster Airport and that it would take at least 5 minutes. The strong wake turbulence caused by the helicopter is of great danger for any small airplane, so it was important to take our time and to ensure that we would have enough separation from the helicopter. We had no other choice than to delay our arrival. The valley being narrow, we were unable to perform orbits over the airfield. Extending our downwind for a few minutes was the best and safest way in delaying our landing. We remained in contact with the other pilot to avoid any misunderstanding. After having been told by the pilot that he was departing again and following the valley to the south, we turned into our very long final. Before we started our final turn, we extended our flaps by 10 degrees and reduced our speed to roughly 80 knots. This would allow us to keep a tight radius when turning. As a general rule, the faster you fly, the greater your turning radius is. So in tight valleys, as such, it is safe to reduce the speed prior to making a U-turn. If you look to the right, you will see the helicopter that was in contact with us. Having stayed in touch with each other, we knew that we would see him passing by on our right side at higher altitude. Communication is very important when flying in uncontrolled airspace. The plane is fully configured for landing and my focus is on keeping a correct approaching angle and speed. Welcome to Münster. Overall, we did well during this approach. We were well prepared for the arrival and knew where we had to be careful. Our good approach briefing allowed us to visualize every step of the approach as well as the go-around, should we have to perform one. Having chosen an alternate airfield within 20 minutes of Münster gave us a safe alternate should we be unable to land here. Also, the constant communications between the helicopter and ourselves ensured that we both knew where the other was and what the respective intentions were. We were flexible and reactive and adapted ourselves to the unexpected. Again, no matter how well you prepare, there will always be a situation you didn't plan for, just like the helicopter in our case. But a good preparation will greatly help you in dealing with the unexpected. Knowing your route and being ahead of your plane gives you time to easily adapt yourself to new situations without having to feel under pressure. Overall, another great flying experience in Switzerland. So, I hope you enjoyed this second episode of experiencing an approach to a Swiss airfield. Please don't forget to leave a comment and to like the video if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're willing to see more of Switzerland in the future. Until next time, captains, stay safe and many happy landings. Bye bye.